movies to talk about in this video are still in theaters and still making money, so some of this information may not be valid in a couple weeks, couple days, couple months, whatever. Like many cinema fans and moviegoers, the summer movie season is one of my favorite times of the year. It's when studios unleash films that have the potential to start franchise or are continuations of already existing franchises. One of the best summer movie seasons in recent memory was the 2014 summer movie season, where we had films like Guardians of the Galaxy and Dawn of the Planet of the Apes. These also did well at the box office, with sequels to both of them coming in 2017. The 2015 summer movie season, while a bit of a step down in quality, still brought some great films like Mad Max Fury Road and Mission Impossible Rogue Nation. So with two great summer movie seasons in a row, I was pretty hyped for the 2016 season.
It's always a privilege to spit with laws. I'm a reality speaker, forget them cars.
There were plenty of films I was excited for, like Warcraft and Suicide Squad. A lot of the films released were sequels and reboots, with very little original movies. Needless to say, the season was a bit of a disappointment. What I'm going to do in this video is go through some of the major studios and their films that they released and see how they stack up both critically and financially. Now, the film that kicked off the summer was Captain America Civil War, which grossed $1.152 billion against a $250 million budget. It was also well received critically, boasting a 90% on Rotten Tomatoes. I thought the film was a good entry in the MCU and enjoyed what it had to offer. The story could have been better, but got me excited for future entries. Looking at Disney, the studio who distributed Civil War, they had a bit of an up and down summer. The first film Disney released was Alice Through the Looking Glass on May 27th. The film wasn't well received by critics, having scored 30% on Rotten Tomatoes, and was a box office disappointment, grossing only $295.1 million on a budget of $170 million. The first film grossed over $1 billion, and this barely turned a profit, leaving a sequel unlikely. The second film Disney released was Finding Dory, the sequel to 2003's Finding Nemo. The film was a box office success, grossing $930.8 million on a budget of $200 million. It was also praised by critics, having a 94% on Rotten Tomatoes. It was also the highest grossing film of the summer, raking in $480 million domestically. I really enjoyed this film, and thought it was one of Pixar's finest in years. Pixar hit a bit of a slump around 2011 with Cars 2 that continued with Brave and Monsters University, as well as The Good Dinosaur. However, they picked back up with Inside Out in this film. Their third film released was the Steven Spielberg film The BFG, which garnered favorable reviews, but was a box office bomb, grossing only $153.7 million on a $140 million budget. In all honesty, Spielberg really hasn't wowed me since The Adventures of Tintin back in 2011. And while his newer work is good quality-wise, it just doesn't have the same scope that his work in the 80s and 90s had. The final film Disney released was a live-action remake of Pete's Dragon. I saw this and I loved it. Definitely one of Disney's better live-action remakes. It was positively received, but at the time of this video being made, only grossed $77.4 million on a budget of $65 million. While looking at these films, I realized that the only one besides Civil War that turned a profit was Finding Dory. The three other films were poorly marketed, which resulted in disappointing returns. This shows that the Disney name won't sell films anymore, and people won't see something that doesn't look appealing. Despite all this, Disney probably had the best summer due to Civil War and Finding Dory, which were the second and first highest grossing films respectively. Next up is 20th Century Fox. 20th Century Fox released 5 films, with every one of them having a mixed to negative response. They also had the biggest bomb of the summer with Morgan. Despite all this, the other 4 films turned a bit of a profit, but that's not saying much, considering their budgets. Yep, they were all disappointments. Paramount had a pretty rocky summer as well. Despite turning a profit, both Star Trek Beyond and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Out of the Shadows made much less money than their predecessors, with Star Trek grossing $244.7 million on a $185 million budget, and TMNT grossing $242.8 million on a $135 million budget. These are both much less money than what their predecessors made, with the first TMNT film grossing $493.3 million on a $125 million budget, and Star Trek Into Darkness grossing $467.4 million on a $185 million budget. Paramount also had one of the biggest bombs of the summer, Ben-Hur. The film received negative reviews and grossed only $43.9 million on a budget of $100 million. These films all had potential, well, some more than others, and were major disappointments for Paramount. Warner Bros. Had a good summer for the most part. While they did have to fight off some backlash about Suicide Squad, a film that made me literally want to commit suicide, the film ultimately turned a profit for the studio despite negative reviews. Warner Bros. Also had the surprise hit Lights Out, which earned positive reviews and was a major box office success, grossing $126 million on a budget of only $4.9 million. Sadly, Warner had two bombs this season. The first was The Wolf of War Dogs, which got mixed to positive reviews and grossed $45 million on a budget of only $40 million. Warner Bros.' second bomb was The Nice Guys, a film me and many others enjoyed that failed to connect with mainstream audiences. The film only grossed $57.3 million on a budget of $50 million, despite great reviews. Lastly, we have Universal, who probably had the best summer season behind Disney. They only had one film that bombed, and that was Popstar Never Stop, Never Stopping. Despite the good reviews, it only grossed $9.5 million on a budget of $20 million. They also had hits like Neighbors 2, Jason Bourne,
Jesus Christ, that's Jason Bourne,
as well as The Secret Life of Pets, which is now the highest grossing non-Disney animated film of all time. Thanks, America. Universal also had the surprise box office hit that was Warcraft. Despite negative reviews and only grossing under $50 million in North America, the film was a hit overseas, grossing $386.3 million, making it the highest grossing video game movie of all time. I personally loved this movie and can't wait to see if we get a sequel. Overall, the summer movie season kinda sucked. While sequels and animated films made a lot of money, original films barely made over their budget, good reviews or not. Studios need to have more faith in smaller projects, even if that means kicking up the budget and giving it better marketing. If this summer taught us anything, it's that people will see anything if it has a familiar face. Well, almost everything. People need to get off Netflix and go to the movies. People need to support movies, even if it is another Avengers or Minions movie. Studios also have to make movies that will hit with both critics and audiences, having things that appeal to both demographics. Studios also have to have faith in their directors, making something that isn't just for money purposes and to make quality films. Also, animation needs to be smarter, so Illumination, stop. Well, that's my 2 cents on why this summer movie season sucked. I hope you took something away from this. Please be sure to follow me on Twitter, and I will see you all next time. Bye!